Going to be doing a 2-point perspective drawing today. Last time was a 1-point perspective. I do just want to point out in the last video, if you watched that one, I had made a comment about sharpening your pencil and making sure you ask your parents. What I accidentally did was cut out the part where I was talking, and I was saying if you don't have a pencil sharpener, you could use maybe an X-Acto knife, and that's where I was saying get a parent to do it for you, or an adult of some sort. You don't want to be sharpening your pencil with a knife. That would not be safe. So I'm going to try to go through this one quicker, and to prove that to you, I'm done explaining things right now. We're just going to head right into it. This is the paper that I would normally use, but I did make a comment about if you don't have regular paper at your house, you could try to find something around the house. And I just happened to be in my kitchen the other day looking for something to eat since we haven't been to the grocery store in forever, and I came across paper plates. And I thought, well, why not take my own advice? So we're going to work on a paper plate today instead of on a regular piece of paper. You're going to start with a horizon line. Now your horizon line doesn't have to be straight across. It also doesn't have to be in the middle of your page. So I'm just going to make mine. It doesn't have to be straight. I'm just going to use this because it's in front of me here. You don't want it to be like this, but you do want to have, because you got to have a point on either side. That's where the 2-point comes from. I do know that the shadows on here make it a little difficult, so I'm going to actually use a little Sharpie here to show you where those 2 points are. Maybe I'll make them a little bit bigger so you can see those there. Okay, horizon line. This is what separates the sky from the ground. Again, you could put it up here and you'd have more ground. You could put it down here, you'd have more sky. Let's start with a first building. In a 1-point perspective, everything is going towards that point, like towards the middle. In a 2-point perspective, things are going towards these dots. So it's going to end up being bigger in the middle and smaller on the sides instead of bigger on the sides and smaller in the middle. Okay, so using our ruler here, I'm going to draw a line that starts above my horizon line and it goes below the horizon line. This is the front corner of our building, and what we need to do is connect the top of this line to both of our dots and the bottom of this line to both of our dots. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Maybe I could do a small follow-along lesson, but for these lessons, I like having it on a video because you guys can pause, you can rewind, you can fast forward through all of my rambling. You can do you know whatever you need to, and it helps you guys follow along better. If I was doing this live, I have a feeling that we'd have a lot of people raising their hands, and I'd have to stop and all kinds of things. So, all right, now that we have this shape here, if you can see this, this is the corner of like a wall, and that wall goes on and on and on and on and on forever. These vanishing points doesn't mean that it ends there, it just means it vanishes there. That's as far as you can see. So what we want to do with this corner of a building is give it a right and a left side, and you can make it like a tall skinny building, you could make it like a short fat building. It's totally up to you. So I'm going to draw, I think I'm going to make it kind of a medium, something in the middle here. A line on either side that is parallel to the lines I've already drawn, and it's just connecting those top to the bottom. Now what I'm going to do is erase this horizon line in the middle, because this is my building, and you wouldn't be able to see through it, even if it was made out of glass, because you have either the moonlight or the sunlight. or street lights or whatever kind of lights you have going on, it's going to cause reflections on here. So you're not actually going to be able to see through it. Then I'm going to erase the lines on either side, but only on the top. You'll see why I'm going to leave these ones on the bottom here. These are going to end up showing me where to draw my next buildings. So the top ones I'm erasing down to my vanishing point. Got some, what is that, ASMR here of me drawing on a paper plate. Maybe that puts you to sleep at night. Now what we're going to do is draw another building somewhere on this page. If you draw your entire first line, this line that we drew here, if you draw it below the horizon line, you're going to see the top of that building. If you draw it your entire line above the horizon line, your building's going to be floating, which isn't a bad thing. If you're making your city a futuristic city, you might have floating buildings or something like that. I'll pick a side, left or right, and I'm going to draw another line. I'm going to make this one a little bit taller though, because I want my building to not be the same size as this one. You could have it be the same size, it doesn't really matter. I just don't like all mine to be the same. I'm ignoring this building and I'm going to be connecting the top and the bottom of this building to these points. Now, you already connected this side here because we left this line here. What we do need to do is take this bottom and connect it over to our vanishing point on the right side here. So I'm going to do that now, and I know that my building's not going to go forever all the way to the vanishing point, so I don't need to draw that whole line. That would be extra erasing that I don't need to do. I'm just going to keep it right here, and it's that simple. Now I'm going to connect the top, and again, my building's not going to go on and on forever, so I'm going to pick a spot for it to stop. I'm going to have mine stop right here. You could have your stop right here. It could stop over here. It's up to you. And now we have a steeper line going down to this point. And again, you don't need to draw the whole thing, otherwise you'd have to just erase most of it. You can, if it's confusing to you, draw the whole thing. Just make sure you draw lightly then so that you are able to erase it. The reason I'm not going the whole length of that way is because less erasing, which means shorter video for you guys. I am trying to... They're going to be longer than a regular YouTube video because I have a lot of explaining to do. But and we're trying to keep the classroom atmosphere. The way I've drawn this, I have a building here and a building here. There's an alleyway right here. So you could, go into that alleyway, and that's where, Batman or somebody would have to save you from the bad guy. Or you're taking out the trash and there's a dumpster right here or something like that. On this side, I'm going to draw it a little bit different. I'm going to make it so the building is so close to this building that there isn't an alleyway. Otherwise, what happens is you end up with a city where it's building, alley, building, alley, building, alley, building, alley, the whole way. And that's not exactly what a real city looks like. This doesn't have to be an alleyway either. You could make it, if it was a little bit bigger, like I moved this building over, you might have like a basketball court or a garden or something else there. Okay, so on this side, oops, bumping my camera here. On this side, I'm going to draw that first line again. This one and this one. But I'm going to draw that first line so that it matches up with the edge of this building that I've already drawn. Now you can see this is a building next to this building, like when you go walking down Main Street and all those buildings are connected together. So there isn't an alleyway here for you to go. You can continue drawing buildings as much as you want. The issue is you got to pay attention to scale. As your buildings go towards the distance here, they're going to be getting smaller. Even if it's a bigger building, it's going to look smaller because it's going further and further away until your vision can't see that far anymore. What we are going to do next, just real quick to show you, if you wanted to have like a skyscraper or something like that, we're going to draw a building on top of this building so it looks like it's multiple levels. If you're drawing a building behind all of these, you do it the same way, except try not to make it exactly behind a building you've already drawn. So last example here, let's just do one like right here. Enough of buildings. Let's look at, and you might have like a tree or something in front of it here. Let's look at the next step. So these are all the different examples of buildings you can do. You'll notice that all of my buildings are just rectangles or squares. It's easier to draw rectangles and squares, but they don't have to. If you wanted to make a triangular roof on top, you can do that. If you want to make the roof round on top, you could do that. Details. Let's look at if we wanted to put a door. I think what I'm going to do is, for the rest of this, it takes more time for me to use a ruler. And so you should use a ruler at home, because if you don't, it's not going to look correct. But I'm going to forego my ruler right now for my details, because then I can just draw more quicker and you guys don't have to watch as long of a video. So we're going to put this ruler away for a second, and I'm going to show you how to do doors and windows and things. So looking at our buildings here, maybe I have a door on this first building. You're going to see the most detail on this first building because it's the closest, whoops, this way. It's the closest to you, and so it's going to have the largest details and also the most amount of details. So if I wanted a door on here, I would draw a straight line up and down. This is where my sketching is going to come in now. And this top, if it's on the left side, left, right. If it's on the left side of your building, the top of this line has to go to your left dot. So something like that, and then you connect it back down. This would be a door. If you're going to put a window on the door, draw that first line. The top and bottom of this have to go to the left dot because it's on the left side of your building. So you would have something of a square on your building here. But you'll notice the square is aiming towards the left. And in our last video, we talked about a couple of lines to make it look like it's reflecting there. The size of the first door you draw determines basically the size of the rest of your city. If I were to draw this door teeny tiny, like this big, then this is a skyscraper. The way I've drawn this door, this is maybe a 1, 2, 3 or 4 story building, and that's it. So again, it depends on the size. Now, if I were to move a door over onto this building, it has to be a little bit smaller than the first one because of the scale. Things get smaller as they go. So I'm going to draw another door over here. But this door is a little bit smaller because this building is further in the distance. And again, drawing our window on there. Okay, same door, a little bit smaller, a little bit bigger. Let's look at if you were to draw an inside of something. Okay, and what I mean by that is maybe you have like a garage or a shop or something. You're going to draw that first line. Whoops, make sure it's as straight as you can get it. Use your ruler at home. It's a little bit crooked, but you get the idea. And because it's on the right side of my building, this has to go to my right vanishing point. So we're looking at a line that goes over here. Now you're probably saying, well, Mr. Z, why'd you draw this door so much bigger? This is going to be like a garage door where you could park your car in here if you wanted to. You could just draw lines that go to this dot over here, and there you go. It's a closed garage. However, we're going to step it up a notch and draw this garage so that it is open. In which case, and this is where it gets a little confusing, remember the left side of the building, everything goes to the left. Right side, everything goes to the right. Unless you're drawing inside, and then it's the opposite. Your right wall goes to the left, and your left wall, which you can't see because it's behind this wall here, goes to the right. So I am going to actually bust out my ruler just for a second for this one, because I want to make sure I get this right. So going to my left, and we're just going to pretend that we can see somewhere over here where the room ends. Just like that, it goes to the right. I am going to draw a line that is vertical here for the corner, and hopefully that makes sense. Now this is where you could go, and well, you'd be coming from this way, you could go and turn and park your car in there. Fill that up with whatever details you would like. Now we're going to focus, and we're going to get our ruler back here. We're going to focus on these lines that I told you to keep down here, and that's because this is going to end up being a sidewalk. So what I would like you to do is use your ruler, and we're actually going to continue these lines just a little bit, and how far you continue them depends on the size of the door you drew. So I am extending this line just a little bit right here. And that's because my door is about this size. And if this is going to be a brick of sidewalk, it should be bigger than or about the same size as your door, usually a little bit bigger. So I'm going to do the same thing on this line here then. I'm going to extend it just a little bit. Now what I'm going to do is draw another line from my vanishing point here that's going to connect to this extension that I drew. So we're going to draw this line right here. And we're going to do it on the other side. If you had an actual ruler with measurements and things, you'd be wanting to use those measurements to make sure that this and this were the same. Now, a lot of people make mistakes here because they just draw a whole bunch of lines. On the right side of your sidewalk, we're going to be drawing to the left vanishing point. So here's our sidewalk. Now the only issue is our sidewalk looks a little bit flat, because it is. So what you're going to want to do to make it look like it's raised up, like there's a curb, is line it up with the middle of your first building that you drew. And we're just going to make this little line here go to either dot. So one on either side. Now, just fill in a vertical line wherever your horizontal lines were. And that's going to make each of these look like when they make sidewalks, they lay them one patch of cement at a time, and they're separated like this, so that if you need to replace one, you can just take out one instead of the whole sidewalk. So there you go. Estimate about how big your road should be. It looks like on my paper plate here, the road's actually going to go off the page a little bit. So in order to make it not go off the page, because I want to show you how to draw this, we're just going to make our road a little bit smaller here. So what I'm doing is drawing a line that is going to a dot that would be where, if this line were to continue, that's where that dot would be. For me, it was off the paper slightly. We're going to do the same thing on this side over here. So I'll show you the measurement here. It's going to be at the minimum right there. So we will connect. Again, technically it goes off the page, but we're going to use this dot anyway because it'll help make a little more sense for you. So there's where our roads are meeting, and this is going to be like a four-way stop. Same here. Start off small. They get a little bit bigger as they get closer to us. Okay, you could do like a crosswalk. You might have a crosswalk that's going here, or a crosswalk that's going here. That way you end up with, you know, a place for the cars to stop. One thing that you could add for detail would be maybe like a drain, a gutter drain or something like that. So let's do one of those. Let's see, we probably wouldn't have it next to the garage here, so we're going to do it over on this side. So vertical line, and I'm just going to color that in so that it looks like it goes underneath the sidewalk. Okay, and then we're going to use our ruler from the corner of that vertical line and lined up with our vanishing point. I'm going to make two lines that come out at either side of where that drain is. And then we're going to connect these to our horizon, or not horizon line, our vanishing point that's on a horizon line. Okay, and then you could have your drain here. So I'm assuming that you would have, I don't know if my pencil is sharp enough for this. This is why mechanical pencils work nice, because you can get a really small, thin line. This one, even though I just sharpened it, is already getting dull. Something like that. So you can see that those are the, you know, where you accidentally drop your phone through there, and when you reach down there, you know, there's the clown with all the red balloons and whatever. I believe that that's pretty much it. You could do some sort of a background. If your background is more buildings, you can just draw more basic buildings that don't have to be 3D, because it's behind all these. So you would just draw, you know, some tall buildings and some short buildings. I like nature better, so I'm going to have maybe a mountain that goes behind these buildings. Remember that mountains are not all perfect triangles with snow on top. Those are the kind of mountains we draw in first grade. So you might want to have a mountain that is in front of another mountain or a hill. This is the basics of a two-point perspective. Now, I had this great idea to watercolor paint my paper plate, because these lines here kind of reminded me of a bright light from like a sunset or something like that. But again, I'm trying to keep these pretty short for you guys. So same with not coloring my last project. I don't think I'm going to get the watercolors for that. Plus, I'm not sure if you guys have watercolors at home. Again, we're in a crazy time. We gotta do what we can with what we've got. So here is a paper plate two-point perspective. We will see you next time.